Hey, welcome back to the channel. Today we are doing part 2 of preparing a song in 30 minutes or less. So right now I'm going to take you back in the past. This is now going to be the day before rehearsal, picking up right after marking up the chart, just getting things under my fingers. Okay, so I'm getting ready for the second listen. I've got my guitar here, but you'll notice it's not plugged in. This happens a lot. Maybe I'm sitting down during my lunch break to work through stuff for the next day's rehearsal, and I don't have an amp to plug into, but I can bring a guitar. So this happens a lot. Like I said, I just want to get it under my fingers. So just so happens that we're lucky. The recording is in the same key as the chart that what we're gonna do tomorrow night. So that's super helpful. So here we go. We're just gonna walk through. I'm gonna kind of just go through all the stuff that I wrote here and make sure that everything is accurate. And then also see if there's any more like specific details I need to get under my fingers as we're doing this. So here we go. So I was right, it is La Fa Mi Do 6 4 3 1 if you prefer numbers. And we're gonna get this happening here again. Practicing just some of that low stuff. And then just working on how I would transition between doing that lower stuff up to kind of this higher, higher position up here. And then we're into the instrumental. And then we've got the riff. I'm just working my way through this. Yeah, we get that. Guitar's not quite in tune with the recording. Okay, so I got that D riff going on. Doing the noodling. And it's actually an ostinato. I didn't hear that the first time. But as I'm listening, it's just that ostinato. Alright, into the last chorus. second half of the chorus. Oh, okay, I missed something when I was moving stuff over from the back of the page back up to the top. Now does it go to C? No, okay, so I missed something big. Huh, okay. So that's something that I would want to go back and double check. Because I messed up the ending and I'm not quite sure what happened there. So that's something that I would go back and check, and that's what I would say for past your second listen, okay? By the second listen, or second or third or whatever, you should have enough notes on your chart to where if you had to, you could go in and fake it, okay? And then you can use any time that you have left to get things really well under your fingers. I like to use that first little bit of time just to make sure that I've got things under my fingers. If there's a tricky phrase that I can't immediately figure out what fingering would be the most comfortable and natural, I definitely want to figure that out. And then get some notes down on where that works. But yeah, that's pretty much my process before the rehearsal. Next week, I'm going to take you to tomorrow night, if that makes sense sequentially. And I'm going to show you what this looks like then in the rehearsal, because the rehearsal makes such a huge difference in what I'm playing and just in my understanding of how it's actually going to be. Okay, so we're jumping back into the future again. It's now a couple of days after the rehearsal. I took some video and I want to just bring you through the video and kind of start and stop and explain some of the things I was thinking, some of my mind processes while I'm going through things. Two quick things that are not on film, but are a very important part of this process when they have time to happen. Sometimes they don't. But number one is, if you can, whatever kind of commute you have to church, that's a great time to sit down and listen to the new song. You know, if there isn't a new song, that's usually when I'm listening to the set, just to get everything in my head again. But for a new song especially, I'm listening to that new song a lot. Mostly it's to remind myself what was going on the day before when I marked up my chart. But it's a really good way to just get yourself familiar with the big picture of the song again. The second tip that I have that's super, super important when you can do it, when life allows you to do it, is I like to show up at the church early if I can. Sometimes even as much as 30 minutes or 45 minutes early, so that way I can, you know, first of all, have time to get everything set up if I'm setting up and tearing down every week. But then also, it's really important to have just a few minutes to get things under your fingers again. Getting it under your fingers in that context, just to wake your brain up and just remind yourself what you're doing. You know, it's very, very important to do if you can. This isn't 100% necessary, but if you can, it's really useful because we are preparing a song in such a short time. Any little bit you can do is going to help a lot. All right, so I've got a feed of me playing. I've got a feed of my pedal board, so that way we can go through and kind of talk about my effect choices that I'm making and why I'm going through some things. And so here we go. So no matter what happens, one of the first things that I always do is click in my tap tempo, just so that I'm good to go if I should decide to use any delays. Even if unless it's a song that I know for sure that I'm not going to use delay, I'm usually clicking in that tempo the very first thing that I do, so. There was a little bit of confusion there at the beginning, but this is a good point to stop and chat about this. One of the conversations that we had before rehearsal was that the riff on this song was going to be played by the piano. And what actually happened is after we had this conversation, the riff never got played. And so I kind of snuck in and started playing it even from the beginning, and you know, went back to sort of what I had charted out. So these things happen. You get flexible. It's quite possible that on Sunday morning when we play, the piano player could be playing it, in which case I will pull back regardless of what we rehearsed. All right, moving on.
Just wait for it. It's come back around. It's come back around. Here we go.
Okay, so right there, I just clicked on my my reverb, and I'm just sort of messing with things. I'm listening. I've got in-ears in, so I'm listening really closely to how things sound. This is exploring, and the important thing here is that I do it very, very unobtrusively. Okay, I don't want to get in the way while I'm testing out sounds to see how they fit in the mix, and you'll see here in a second.
The Son of God hung on the cross.
There, I decided that's not what I want to do.
The day was dark and all felt lost, but stirring underneath the
Staying out just like I had charted.
the Lamb of God fighting for us. Hope is alive today, 'cause he is.
So right there I chose my delay. I chose a dotted eighth delay. My thought process on delays, I have a quarter note delay and I have a dotted eighth delay available to me almost all the time in every preset that I have. My thought process is that if I'm playing something with eighth notes or quarter notes, I'm going to pick a dotted eighth delay. If I'm playing something that's a little bit more syncopated, that doesn't fall on the beat, then I'll pick a quarter note delay. The biggest idea is that I don't want the repeats to fall when I'm playing at the same time. Because that can create some weird dissonances and things like that. Like if you have an A versus, you know, an A against a B, and all of a sudden, you know, they're playing at the same time. That doesn't always sound good. You know, there are exceptions. There are some times when that's going to sound great. Most of the time, unless I'm planning this out, I want those delays to fall in the spaces of where I'm playing with the guitar. So.
Alive today, the stones rolled away, death defeated in his grave. Hope is alive today, 'cause he is alive today. No matter what we face, we overcome in Jesus' name.
Okay, right there, you've heard that my my tone shifted a little bit, okay? So a little thought about gain. Now, as a guitar player, and I'm pretty sure a lot of guitar players have this problem, or it could just be me, I have a tendency to use more gain than I need to, and so I have to consciously fight against that. Right now, everything that you've heard so far on my tone has been clean tone, okay? I have it set up with an AC30 model that is right on the edge of breakup. And so everything you've heard so far has been that. So that shift that you just heard was 100% done with fingers, okay? I just dug in a little bit harder, I played a little bit louder, and that gave me a bit of a bigger, louder tone, a little bit more breakup. As I'm going here, you're going to hear me start to experiment with adding gain and going higher, but I always start with the lowest gain possible, and I only add gain when I feel like that doesn't work. So what you're going to see is over on the left, you're going to see me add the Team A or the Timmy model on the HXFX. That'll be the yellow switch on your left. The next gain level is going to be me switching the AC30 over into a sort of a gainy channel, a lead channel. And that's going to be on the white dual switch over on the right. And I'll let you know when that happens. But that's kind of my concept on gain, is I want to start as low gain as I have to. All right, moving on. Okay, I need to talk about that for a second. My second switch on that white dual switch is set up as a self-oscillating switch for my delays. I love this as just a way to add some color. I have it's set up as an expression pedal, and it's just a momentary switch, which means that it's only on as long as I hold down the switch. As soon as I let go, it turns off. But it does push up the feedback and the repeats up into the point where the delay is going to start to oscillate and start to just keep going, repeat back on itself. I find it to be a really pleasant sound. As I'm using it, I'm also really, really listening and really trying to be cognizant of how it's affecting the rest of the mix. Let's move on. That muted part. There's the Timmy. As I'm listening, I'm not very happy with how that's cutting through. You can hear that lead part's not really coming through at all. So I'm adjusting with my fingers first. And there I just clicked over to the lead tone with the AC30. Yeah, you can hear how that cuts through a little bit better. Topping there, that was just me kind of trying to reset to a clean tone so I can start from there again. And so I realized that I'd much rather have that Timmy kind of sitting back there as sort of the clean tone that I'm going to build from again, and reset the AC30 back to the clean channel. So here we go. Sure, right there I've just switched over to the middle position, resyncing my tap tempo. So still right there, it's mostly clean. I'm trying to decide if I want to use that self-oscillation trick again. You can see me hovering over it. Right there, I clicked off of my of the Timmy, and I may have to do some tweaking on that model, because with this setup, with this amp model, and in this room, it's almost like I lose volume with the Timmy, which is weird because it doesn't sound that way in my studio. So that might be something I need to go back and address, because I heard it that way in my in-ears too. So it's just different things that you need to tweak when you're doing stuff live. All right, moving on. Okay, putting it back into the Timmy again. So right there, I I tried to use the self oscillation. I'm not in that moment. I tried it and I was like, not really a big fan of it. The big choice here is trying to decide whether I should do the octaves. Not doing the octaves is cleaner. Doing the octaves gives it a little bit more oomph. On my big board, I have an octave pedal set up, and this is exactly the situation where I would use that to give just a little bit of sparkle to help push a lead part through without necessarily having to add anything different. But I don't have that available here, so I make do with what I've got. So now I'm just trying to decide between like playing techniques of keeping it single notes versus, you know, tightening up the technique of trying to play it as a moving octave. Oh, and I missed this. A little bit ago I turned off the delay. It was just sounding a little bit muddy in my ears. Really important. When you get super busy, you know, that's a good time to get those delays out of the way, unless you really do need them. The band is going full blast here. Those delays just not helpful, really. So, all right, moving on. There's with the octaves again. Dropped out, bringing it down with my guitar knob. So yeah, so that was the run through. We only took one run through through that song, and you know, in all fairness, we are still a week out from Easter. We'll still have one more rehearsal next week, but this is pretty, I would say this is pretty representative of what a normal new song might be. We'd probably run through it a second time, but if it's a song that's just new to me and not new to the team, one time through might be all we get. Then we get Sunday morning, and then, you know, there we go. And I've been on a lot of gigs outside of the church as well, that you get one rehearsal, you do what you can, and then boom, you're into the gig. So I feel like this is a good thing. The really important thing here is that after this, and I didn't get this on camera, but after this, I come in with my pencil and I kind of start penciling in some things, especially if there's places that, you know, I wrote down where I wanted to put some of that self-oscillation effect. You know, if there's things that are really complex, like I know I have one song for Easter morning that starts off with a tremolo. You know, those are things that I'm going to jot down in my charts, so that way I know what's going on. If you're not allowed to use charts during the gig, then there's a few extra things that you need to be doing, and most of that just comes down to listening and preparation. I will say, though, that usually even in those, they'll still let you have things like a set list or something on the stage. And in that case, I will at least jot down the keys of the songs. And then if there's anything that I really need to kind of jog my memory on what's going on with those songs, I'll put that down there on the set list. Just so that I've got something. If nothing else, it's just for my own confidence. It's just to help me to know that I know what's going on. Usually by the time I've written all those things down, I've got it memorized. But sometimes there's just something about telling yourself and letting yourself know that you've got it memorized, or letting yourself know that even if your memory did fail, you've got something, no matter how small, that you can look down and remind yourself, oh yeah, this is the song that's in G, it's not the song that's in A. So I hope this information's been really useful for you. Let me know in the comment section down below, is this something that you find yourself having to do a lot? Because I know for me it is. Don't Don't forget to hit the subscribe button if you found this content interesting to you. We try to put out a new vlog every Monday and some new music periodically as we can get it finished. And we'll see you next week.